Hello, my divine, infinite human beings. You're all that is, ever has been, and ever shall be. And today I'm in my studio. And for those that don't know me, my studio is my terrazzo here in Italy. And we're going to talk about the future of America, which I believe is on everyone's minds right now. And even here in Italy, the with the election, nothing but the Trump has been running, spilt over into Italy, and all my friends are asking me about it now because it's on their radar. So America is really the central, I'd say, definitely stage of the final countdown, kind of the battle or whatever. The battle's already been won, but a lot of the final stuff has been put into motion in America, and it's kind of playing itself out there. Now, I'm Elizabeth Monroy, the host of the Infinite Human Talk Show, and if you know me, I am not political. So this is not a political statement. I see politics as something that creates of the 3D world that is created to polarize people. And the truth about politics is it's man-made. And as you ascend into the higher dimensions, the fifth dimension and on, there is no politics because there's no duality. There are, and there has been on this planet in the true hidden history in the ancient times and in the indigenous cultures, it was the grandmothers, the wise women, the older women who would have a council, council of 12 or whatever. And they would, mostly their focus was on being the guardians of our Mother Earth. So they made decisions always for the well-being of our Mother Earth and all creation, including, of course, the human beings around. And that was how it ran. And it was run basically by their connection to infinite source, and they would just take orders and carry them out. So it was not, there was no place for greed or, self-serving intentions. So, we're going to talk about the future of America today. And I have two guests that are going to be on here. I'm waiting for them to arrive. And they, ironically, are American. They're dear friends. One I've known in this lifetime and many other lifetimes. And the other one I just met in the physical, but I've known her from very many lifetimes. And they are twin souls and husband and wife, and very aware, astute people. So I really value their opinion, and it's so exciting to have someone in the physical that will be here, so I don't have to podcast, or transmit from people in England and all over the States and Vietnam. They actually came here to find me, and they're actually looking to for a place to outside of the U.S. to live. So I'm helping them with that. And so they have some very interesting insights. I think one of the things about being an expat and when you leave your culture, first of all, when you look at other cultures, you realize, wow, that's kind of weird. Why are they doing that? That's silly. That's strange. And you kind of see how the culture is a mind control program. But the funny thing is, you can never see your own self, your own mind control, your own culture. And as I detox these past 5 years from America, that is, I really didn't have any contact physically with Americans during the lockdown, and since I moved to Sicily, where the only Americans are the Sicilian Americans, and that's kind of a different breed, but from New York, but none of the kind of, lifestyle that I had been accustomed to and the mind control programs I had adapted by birth. So I had a chance to really look at it, and I really noticed that one of the biggest things about America is, it says, "In God we trust" on all our dollar bills. And that's the truth. Money is the God in America. It really is. Not everyone buys into that, but that's pretty much the culture. It's a culture where everyone comes from all over the world. But the thing that binds them together is their pursuit of happiness, no, money. They come there to make money. And it is a place that has been blessed with a lot of money. And there's a reason for that, because it followed the one world order agenda, because the US had been created to become the right arm of the one world order military. And unbeknownst to us, all our work, all our taxes went to build this incredible military that pretty much invaded. And I wrote about all of this in The Infinite Human. So if you're confused, I have it all very carefully documented about how they would go into countries to overthrow the presidents or leaders or dictators even, but they were dictators or leaders that were not going to bid with the New World Order. All right. So they would, and some of them were doing wonderful things for their country. And I have a whole list of all the incredible things that Gaddafi really did. Like, you know, giving newlyweds homes and giving them profits in the petroleum that their country had. I mean, it was amazing what he did for his country. So, we've really been had a huge I'll just say MK Ultra mind control done on us, because all this after the World War II, all this paperclip, importation that we're talking about has come, that came over from Germany, and we brought the Nazis over there. And they pretty much integrated. They had a green pass. They had a green card. They had not only that, a golden ticket to by the Illuminati. The Masons and all that, and the Rockefellers, and they footed their bill and they funded their experiments. And their experiments were basically how to perfect mind control, which they tested, perfected on the American and Canadian populations. And when I say America, I mean America. I mean Canada. I mean Central America. U.S. and South America, because it's all the Americas. But so. But we're all my fellow Americans. We're all in this, and we really were forefront with the technology that was used against us. And this technology was a lot of the technology was given to us, with from the Zetas. And, that's the whole, it's not really true. The Roswell thing, it wasn't really a spaceship crashing. It was, agreements that were made. And that technology that was given to our government was weaponized, and used against us. Hence, we're in the mess we're in. And America really, I think, leads the way in how distorted, perverted, and contorted, which is a gift in and of itself, because that's why you have so many conspiracy. I say I'm a conspiracy therapist. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, because it's true, and I'm here to help you deal with it. But that's why there's so much of that going on in the States today, because it's so highly visible and pretty much a lot of it was born there. And I mean, not all of it, because actually MK Ultra mind control started back, it was used in ancient Egypt, but it was perfected. And all the DuPont and Rockefellers that were funding, first of all, medicine, they distorted the direction of medicine and steered it more towards genocide, with, of course, and we're not going to go through the whole past, because I said once you know the problem, but it's all in my book, The Infinite Human, about modern medicine. And, don't believe everything I say. Don't take medical advice from me, because I'm not a doctor. I'm a doctor's wife. All right. And that means a lot right there, because I saw it all play itself out with my husband, Dr. Peter Monroy, a board certified obstetrician gynecologist. So I know exactly what history, the turn it took. And we wrote the book, The Pathway Home, to try to shift that back in 1995. Okay, here we are, almost 2025. So it didn't work, but it's okay, because we've got fail-safe kicking in. So everything's good. But I do want to kind of put things into a historical perspective, because a lot of Americans are waking up today. This is a day, I'm pre-recording this a day after the election. And, they're just wondering what's going on. And unfortunately, some people might be really happy and the other people might be extremely depressed. But the point is, there's a huge gash, I call it a huge polarity that's been created in the disunited state of America. And everything has been engineered to divide and conquer us. And the whole elections, all of politics is a show, and they even say so. They even say enjoy the popcorn. So, like I said, I'm not a fan of anyone. Whatever you put up there, they're just puppets. They really are just puppets. You really have to see through that. And yes, I know there's a lot of very evolved people who have supported Trump, and we have all the Q dumps and all that stuff about the white hat caps are doing this and they're doing that and they're doing all this. And you know, um, I'll just say I'm trying not to give you hopium, because I know a lot of people think Trump is Jesus Christ incarnate, or his right arm of God, or the savior that's going to save America and make it great again. So first of all, make it great again. Make America great again. Wow. And if you want to know the true history of America, I won't go into it now because it's the very first talk show I ever did on Columbus Day in 2023, over a year ago. We go into the true history of America. And then I have a video on my YouTube channel where I visited Jamestown, where my family is from. And America was founded by the Virginia Company, a corporation, and what they did there was dark and dirty, and it just spread. They ended up, instead of starving to death, the Indians, Pocahontas, that was that real story, they took pity on them and saved them. And then they turned around and there's no Indians there left. I think everyone knows that. Look around. I remember when I was a kid, the monkey said, ask your mommy and daddy what happened to the Indians, and I did. And it's like, they're no longer here, right? So they were massacred. They were slaughtered. It was a major genocide. And then they planted tobacco instead of becoming self-sustaining and learning from the Indians how to live from the land. And then they brought in slaves from Africa. So that is our karmic history of the United States, which has become a corporation since then. But if you want to make the Americas great again, you need to go back to Atlantis, the true history. And Edgar Cayce has all that documented. And on that same journey, I visited the Cayce Institute and bought some of the transcripts he had when he was hypnotizing people and going back into their past lives, which started to spill into Atlantis. So there was a golden age of Atlantis when the Americas were really great. And that's what Columbus did. He came and he slaughtered those high genetically, royals, Masha Grail lines from the Atlanta, the Golden Age, that were still there, and he stole all their historic documents, which made up part of the Mahabharata, which is the true Bible, which should be in the Bible, but it was stolen and by the Romans and into the Catholic Church, and it's under the Vatican now. So, and that is what many of the speakers, and Ashkenazim was one of the speakers, of the three speakers that brought a lot of that information into our awareness in the time frame that we're now in. So that make America great. But, it's a lot of stuff going on. Enjoy the popcorn. If you really think that this guy's not part of the one world order, I heard, he was watching the results with Elon Musk and stuff. I mean, look at what he's really done. But I'm glad to see the show coming to a conclusion, because we've been watching this show, this reality show for so long. And so many people have been caught up, with this hopium of, oh, he's going to save us. He's going to make everything good again. Well, guys, not going to happen. All right. So it's always, always, always about you. All right. You are infinite. You have the power to co-create your ultimate reality. And you need to not pay your attention externally. All right. Start putting it inside yourself and start deciding what you can do. You have to rid yourself. You have to rinse yourself free of all these programs that, America's the greatest country in the world. And, we're, whatever, our food's great, eat a McDonald's, human burger, or all the things that the technology is God, the way to God, and making money is everything. And, I live in a place that's really coming along. What do I mean coming along? It's coming along because people out here are realizing, 'cause America is really infiltrating the rest of the world so much, and they just sense that it's not, because they still have that connection to the earth, to the land, to the ancients. Because we have beautiful ancient temples still here that have very high resonancy, and the people I've been involved with are now bringing back the old folk songs, Sicilian folk songs, and the theater, and they're growing their own food. They're making their own herbs, but there's just incredible herbs. They're really so in love with their land, with the Mother Earth. They call it their Madre Terra, their Mother Earth, and there's a deep connection here. And I mean, they still have the Catholicism that they have to deal with, but there is just such a beauty. And I feel like these places are going to be the ones that really, really raise in frequency. And it's all about frequency now. Now in the US, and I'm getting ready to come back there, guys. All right. I'm going to be back there the 15th, and I'm going to be at the Body, Mind, and Spirit Expo in Cincinnati. And I'm getting my body ready, because every time I get there, I just feel the low frequencies that are maintained by the whole EMF chemtrails, and then, of course, everything is, it's like they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. When you get into those big cities, it's so hard to even see greenery. So, I do give advice. My advice is to, wherever you are in the planet, you need to start positioning yourself, because you can be part of the new earth. You can move on to these higher timelines. You can be part of the Crystallis spiral, which realigns with the infinite God source. But you have to choose. And by choosing, you can't just say, I choose, make it happen. You make it happen, you will make it happen, because you are infinite. So it's really something you have to do. And I know everyone says, but I don't have the money. That's the mind control. You have to be rich, and then you can, retire on in an island, buy an island or whatever, no, that's not how it works at all. You really have to start visualizing and putting yourself out there and following the signs and symbols that guide you. Now, I've talked to some people in the US, and they feel very strongly about where they live, and they feel like they're supposed to be there. Well, that's true. Then you're supposed to be there. You need to stay there. You need to be the light in the darkness. And it's not easy. I've done that many times. Also, all Americans being born in America carry a certain amount of karma. We have the slavery issues, we have the genocides of the Indians, we have all kinds of things, and we've also been conditioned away from our connection with Mother Earth. I mean, we don't know how to grow our own food and gather herbs and plants, and live off the land and communicate with the Davis spirits. That's been taken away, especially by things like Siri and Alexia, who tell you everything to do on the artificial timelines. They keep you in that time loop, rather than you learning to trust your inner intuition, your inner voice, and follow these signs. So it's very difficult in America. I know. I'm about to go back, and I'm like, I'm only going there for 2 weeks, so that's about as long as I can stay. But it is very easy. I will be honest, it's easy, because it's a Truman Show. It's just like living in a Truman Show. Everything looks great. At least it used to. I know now that there's potholes in the streets but before, when I grew up, everything was just so perfect. It was like Edward Scissorhands or the Truman Show. Everyone, was on the up and up. America was getting very wealthy. And, most times were good, not for everyone, of course, but for many, the middle class was on the rise. So, but those days are gone. Okay. Just karmically, just energetically, because it was built on the wrong foundation. America was built on the wrong foundation. It was built on blood of the indigenous people, and they removed any of the signs of these ancient cultures and their information. They're powerful, valuable information of the true hidden history. So Americans are clueless as to who they are and where they come from. Well, most of them came from Europe at that time. And then it was built on the labor, much of it on the backs of not only African slaves, but, the Chinese, all kinds of immigrants, Irish, all kinds of immigrants came in there, just to, and were very cheap slave labor, literally. But, the karma of the Africans that we brought over is very powerful. So we all have to deal with that. And I know Peter and I did, because we traveled all around. We worked in, the all Black communities of South Carolina, taking care of the women, and we worked with the Mexican Americans. Again, those are the migrant workers. We worked with those communities. We worked with the Mormons. And a lot of the even the poor mining cultures of eastern and western Kentucky, again, white, but still, very, very much enslaved. So there's a lot of greed that created a lot of karma there, because it was the use and abuse of not only our Mother Earth, but also the people. So that is, and so many people work for corporations and they don't realize what those corporations are really doing. So a lot of that money that, was made, needs to be used correctly. Now, if you're supposed to stay in America, that's great, because I think there's a lot of people that we need there. Good people, good, high frequency, light workers, starseeds, whatever you want to call them, Orpheans. But I think the best thing you can possibly do to position yourself to have a thriving, not surviving, but a thriving future, is to start a new earth community, to get back out to the land, to start becoming self-sufficient, to turn off that television and stop paying all your attention, because it will drain you. It will draw you into duality, and start really beginning to tune inward and tune into nature, tune into that inner voice, that connection with infinite source, and get your power back. And it's not going to come from somebody giving it to you. It's not going to come from, whatever the politics are, because 3D Earth is crumbling. Now, with that said, I do believe that anyone, whether, and we're talking Trump now as a president, whatever they do that is not aligned with the Kristalla spiral, which is ascending, is going to crumble. If they keep doing the Fibonacci spiral, again, the downward spiral of 3D Earth, if they keep playing out the greed, the dividing and conquering, the warring, all that miasmic behavior, there's no quantum there left. The quantum has moved over, and that's what the whole crystal river failsafe that we've been talking about. And if you're confused, it's in the latest copy of my book, The Infinite Human, and we have a lot of talks about that with Dave Emery, especially explaining that we've kicked into a failsafe now, because our whole multiverse, 5 harmonic universes, has gone to such a low level. So at this point, nothing is going to survive on that other timeline, because it is actually going into fall, which means it's just falling into phantom, and there's no energy there. Everyone that works, that stays on that timeline, is just going to be parasited in the worst way, so you don't want to be doing that. And that's when you're service to self. That's where we've been. That's 3D. That's all of 3D Earth. That's the religious institutes, the governmental institutions, the educational institutions. That's our food. That's the culture of death I wrote about that in my last newsletter. Everything's on my website, www.infinitehuman.com. But the culture of death is dying. There's nothing, they can't feed on us anymore, because the frequencies are too high. They're coming in too high. So now the quantum, the energy, is for anyone that actually begins to shift and change, purging themselves inwardly, because you have to get rid of your own shadows, your own darkness, your own open wide portals to these dark energies. And that's where you're going to get supported. The universe has your back. So if Trump and the other, I guess you call them, icons, stars, because the muskrat and all these faces, these puppets or whatever. If they keep playing the New World Order tune, it's not going to work. All right, they're just going to crumble. And that's why you want to just tune in. You want to be self-sufficient. You don't want to be waiting on, oh my gosh, is the truck going to come by and I'm going to get food? Or, oh my gosh, what's going to happen with the economy? You want to get out, have your own land, your own space, get it high frequency. So even if they're geoengineering storms, and I already shared someone that we had who's everything fell around her, but her place was left because she was keeping it in a high frequency. You want to purge yourself first, so you're in high frequency. You want to get a place that is in high frequency. You want to be self-sufficient. So if something doesn't get through, or they're doing some weather manipulation and you don't have power, you have your own power. You're generating your own power. That is so symbolic. And you want to have your, I'm not going to tell you. I will do one a show about money, but think of a way that you can have something that isn't dependent. Okay, I know Trump's talking about just Sara and all that, and that's nice. But what he's really just most Americans don't understand is that the whole world has gone back to the gold standard. That's what BRICS is all about. So gold is the new money, and it guards against inflation, and we've seen it, jump a quantum leap, and then silver's close behind it for for anyone that has something. So I know it's hard, but these plastic cards and these credit cards and all these things, they might get you around the planet, but that's about all they're good for. And the crypto, again, what happens if when things aren't online, because that happens a lot. So that's how you can really thrive in the America that's coming. Yeah, you can have a presence on the web. Yes, AI works, but make sure you know where your food's coming from. Make sure you can put your bare feet in real earth. Make sure you can breathe fresh air. You can have all the money in the internet and have lots of followings, which I don't do my talk show to get followers. I do it to communicate what I receive, the downloads I receive from Infinite Source. But it's nice. You can be very creative online, but you want to, if push comes to shove, if your power's out, if your internet's down, you want to have a beautiful, peaceful place. And you don't want to spend too much time inside the net. Although I do believe I talked about the new consciousness renaissance, and we have a episode on that with Akashi, who's a musician. There's a lot of beautiful opportunities there, but make sure you always know that the truest connection is your divine connection with the multiverse, that you can surf the infinite. So we're just going to take a short break, and I'll be right back. And welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. And I'm just doing I want this to be very inspiring for you. So the first part of the show, we talked about America and how to thrive in America and how to stop putting your energy, wasting your precious soul energy on all the distractions and polarization that's going on outside of yourself. You don't want to get in that position. You don't want to get into political discussions and debates where you never, there's no win or lose anyway. And you're going to just hope that the people that are in certain positions that have the microphone, because a president does have the microphone a lot, they could say things that are very inspiring to people, very empowering to people. But you don't want to buy into this savior complex and give your power away to someone outside of yourself to make America great and to make your life great. And I already talked about that in the first half of it. Now, if you are guided to move outside of the US, as many people are, I've talked to so many people. Now, I've lived outside of the US, probably now most of my life, but back and forth. And, and as I said before, I'm coming back to the States for 2 weeks, and I'm going to the Cincinnati Body, Mind, and Spirit. So I'll be there, and I'll be giving a talk and some soul mission readings, and Kiki will be with me. But because America's very, very influential, and it's really where the final countdown is happening, as things start to shift from 3D and up to the higher dimensions. But for me, my soul mission is to help and support the creation of new Earth communities. And that's really my passion right now. So I have been traveling around, and I live in the most I'm very happy with what's happening here in Sicily. I talked about it earlier in this broadcast, but and I'm getting ready to go down to the Yucatan area. I know it's getting kind of crowded down there, but I still think there's some nice spots in the jungle, and I want to spend some times with the Mayans and the Inner Earth people in the jungle. So that's one of the reasons I'm going down there. But as someone who's lived all over the planet, it's always nice to be, like close to like right now, a 3D like airports and places you can get things, and then you move out into nature, so you're away, and you don't have to completely be I mean, you can be totally isolated just 5 miles, and I found that out when I was in Malta, because the whole city's rigged for 5G, but, you go to, like, a little bit outside even on the Malta or up into areas of Goza, and you don't get any of that, and the frequencies are very high, and people are very into the food that they're growing and, doing all kinds of crystal bowls and tonings and caves and things like that. So you really want to first clear yourself out and then let yourself be guided to where you're supposed to be, because there are certain places. And I already said, if you feel like you're supposed to stay in the U.S. and you're American, fine. That's your soul mission. I did my duty there, Peter and I talked about that earlier. So thank God. So now, I've lived in Italy for many, many years. I came into Italy in 1979. So speak Italian fluently and have permanent residency here. So, it's a good thing if you can get into Europe. That's great. And I'm also been looking at perhaps buying some property down in the Yucatan and South America and all over. I've been guided to a lot of places where kind of help support in the co-creation of communities, and that could be part of my vision is to buy some property and offer investment opportunities where people can buy something and then rent it out and have like kind of a spiritual retreat center where people can come and learn. It can be a beautiful learning. I call it the Infinite Human University, which I'm starting now, and that's all on my website, where you learn about you and you learn about the true cosmic history and you learn about the true colonic science, the science of the universe, the true spiritual science, and true high metaphysics, and you learn who you are, and you learn how to express yourself creatively, and you learn how to come together with others to co-create, rather than the old paradigms of coming together with a guru or a spiritual teacher or whatever. Kiki, don't stop. So that's the future that you create. Okay. Nobody's going to create it for you. No. And there's not one perfect country. And there's not one perfect political system. They're all crumbling. They're all part of 3D Earth. They're all part of the old paradigm. So you want to get to some place where you can, breathe. You want to get to some place that's good for your health, because the more you can regenerate your physical body, the more frequency you can hold, the more you can reconstruct your 12 strands of DNA to become the Christ, the crystal being you truly are. And the more you can regenerate, and activate your plasma body, which will bring all your bodies into that wonderful alignment of divine infinite source. So that really should be, I should, you do what you want to, but that's the suggestion I have for where you choose to live. Where you choose to be, because that's the key. The higher frequencies you can hold, the more you can ground yourself and create a barrier so the geoengineering stuff doesn't get to you. You can ascend within, so you attract and manifest things instantaneously, because as soon as you get your 12 strands connected, that's the Christ. That's the Christ that we all fell from. That's a divine, angelic, infinite human being that is your birthright. And that is now possible, but it depends on where you are. Where I am, I'm either in the Mediterranean Sea, soaking in the sea, or I'm in the hot springs, the volcanic hot springs here, which I'm going to go to later today. Or when I go to Mexico, I go to Bacalar, the cenotes, and that's that earth, water coming up from the inner earth. And, all this holds a very, very high blueprint, especially the waters first, which are now, and then the earth is picking that frequency up too. So it's very healing and very restorative. Okay. So the guests are here, so I'm going to stop you for a minute and we'll bring them on in just a minute. Here I am with some amazing souls. I can put my arm around both of them. And they have come to visit me and Kiki. Kiki's here. This is Kiki, the one you hear barking all the time. And we're talking about the future of America. They just happened to come here right at election time. And they're actually kind of, I guess, exodusing from the US looking for a new place to live. So and I think it's a real pivotal time for everyone right now because there's a huge massive shift energetically going on as we all are aware of. I think most of us that are intuitive and sensitive can feel that internally, but there's that energy is creating a shift monumentally in the planet, inside of ourselves and in the planet we're in. So, as I talked to you before, I'm not political. I don't think anything's going to ever get resolved politically. And I do think it can be a distraction, the 3D Earth, from your own inner work because you create your own reality. So, I talked a lot about that. But now that I have these wonderful souls with me, the kids, Karen Kidd and Kevin Kidd, oh, sorry, Carol Kidd and Kevin Kidd, who've come to Sicily to see me and just tell me a little bit about what you've been doing and what prompted you to start your travels. And talk into the mic.
Okay. Okay. Well, we knew it was time to leave. We're from Tucson, Arizona, most recently, and we knew it was time to leave. So our options were sort of to take a road trip, get a van, something like that, or travel abroad. And it became real clear that it was time to travel abroad. So we decided to spend 3 months in Europe. We started in Portugal and spent a few weeks there, Spain for a few weeks, and now Italy for a few weeks. And just feeling the energy, feeling what it feels like to live in another country. So different in so many ways. And I don't know if you want me to go into the reasons why. Yeah. Okay. One of the things that my health particularly hasn't been great in the US. A lot of it has to do with the food. There's 300 plus additives, preservatives, things that are allowed in food by the FDA in the United States that are banned in Europe. And the first week I was in Lisbon, I felt 100% better. I don't have to really worry too much about the food here. I can eat bread here. I can eat other things that I have to be so picky in the U.S. Even foods that are organic or seem to be healthy are not so healthy in the U.S. So that was the biggest reason. There are other things like the way of life. Europeans tend to work to live, where Americans, it's very there's a big emphasis on achievement and success, especially financially. I want to just also point out a really big thing, and I haven't even said this to you. The biggest thing I noticed now, we like I said, we're from Tucson, Arizona, big homeless population there year round. It's very warm there. They do treat the citizens and the stores and whatnot do treat the homeless people, I think, kindly. There are camps all over. First thing I noticed in Europe, there's none. There are homeless people. I've seen 3 in Rome. Nothing like the US. And so I went on social media and I questioned it on social media and saying, "This is my observation." So the Europeans take care of their own. They have healthcare, they have usually housing, food, clothing. So they have differentiate between rough homelessness, that means people living on the street, versus homeless, that means them living in shelters and whatnot here. So in the US, there's a big population of rough homelessness. And the other reason is Europe does not have opioids or fentanyl, which is a big problem in the US, of course. But
What is that? What is it?
opioids, drugs,
Oh, drugs. Okay.
drugs and fentanyl that people get highly addicted to. And but the homelessness in the US isn't all drugs. It's very expensive. It's harder and harder for people to secure housing. Anyway, so that was a big difference. Um,
Okay, great. Let me get. Okay, thank you. And what about you? Do you want to do you have a comment on what you've experienced since you've left the States on your pilgrimage? You need to hold the mic.
Hmm,
Whatever.
no.
No comment. Kevin's a very wise soul, but when he speaks, it's time to listen. But I guess he only speaks when he feels motivated. But yeah, interesting you said that about the homeless because I lived in Florence for so many years. Before I was explaining that I've lived half here and half there. And there was one homeless guy that I loved him. He looked like Leonardo da Vinci, and everyone loved him. They wrote articles about him. And then the comune got him the commune's the city, the township got him an apartment because they always get apartments for people. In fact, most of the people you see homeless, because I remember there's this one homeless guy, and I was like, he's laying on the street. I called the police. I said, I'm worried about him. Maybe he's not dead. He goes, oh, we keep putting him in the homeless place, but he doesn't want to stay there. So the ones that are on the street are there because they like living on the street, and a lot of them are my friends. When I go to Palermo, I know them, I mean, I'll give them a few euros, and they sell pins, or the gypsies, the Romana they call them. But yeah, it is, and I think Americans might say, well, that's because it's communist. No, it's in Italy, it's because it's Catholic, because Catholic, it's a church, and you take care of poor people, and it's a different mentality. I mean, you take care of people here. The one thing I love, and I really notice it when I go back to the States, is it's so social here. I mean, people just starting to bleed in, where you're seeing people walking around like androids with their little Bluetooth things in and on their phone a lot since the pandemic. But that you can go out and you can talk. They talk for a long time, eye to eye with people, and there's always a festival, or a saint's day, or a work day. I mean, every other day is a holiday in Italy. I don't know about the other countries. And they're doing parades, and they love to be with each other. They love to dress up and be seen and see each other, and how are you, how's your children, how's your family. And we've lost a lot of that. The small town communities in the States used to have that. But even when I went back, it was like, I was back in 2022, and it was like even the malls were like ghost towns. So
Yes. So we are embarking on a new humanity that will create this new earth. I say new, but it's still the earth, but a newer, it's not new because I'm an original human thought form here on this planet. I've been here forever. And we're just coming around to a new cycle, but this is our opportunity during this cycle to really embrace your sovereignty and know who you are as a human, know your power, know that we are love. This universe is love. And when we can connect with each other and acknowledge each other and live, I like what you're saying about if the people want to choose to live on the street, then they just live on the street. That's their freedom, you know, and they've chosen that. We're all masters. You know, look at your own life. Your life is your guru. And that's where you'll see your lessons, and that's where you'll see your power and grow into who you really are.
Beautifully said, beautifully put. And on that frequency, one of the things that, you know, if you're called to live in the States, like I said, you know, you have, that's your part of your soul mission. But I always encourage people, I think they're going to be thriving more if they can get out and start creating small agrarian communities. And here, even, you know, I say in the small cities, because there's something about this ancient architecture, okay? And they call it Renaissance or Baroque or whatever, but it's really most of it is ancient Tartarian technology, where the towns are very small and the architecture is created to be conducive to community. The piazzas are created so that, you know, they said in ancient times a mother could put her head out and see where her child was playing all the time. You know, the children play, the couples, you know, neck, and the market is all happening, and it's creating a architecture that's conducive for that intimate kind of daily rapport. And what happened in America, as I kind of prefaced before we brought these guys, they arrived, was that all the ancient stuff was pretty much plowed to the ground. And then what I noticed when I go back to America is it's so practical. It was laid out. Well, of course, it was founded by a corporation, and so it was laid out for corporations, so that you have, like, they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. So you have a parking lot, you have a huge store, and then you have the place where the truck can come and deliver the food, you know, and you go in and you drive in your car and you go to this restaurant, you know, where the truck comes up and loads the food in the back. And, you know, you might have a little social because you meet someone for lunch. Then you go to this Walmart or whatever, you know, and you buy your stuff. And there's not the conducive architecture, and the simplicity of life no longer exists. So, you know, I'm not trying to sell you on whatever, but in America, as these 3D constructs begin to crumble, let's, you know, I think we'll kind of remember our past and begin to recreate or find that simplicity of life, that connection with the earth, and that community that comes together, with a soul mission behind it, but also just an intimate joy of enjoying our fellow brethren, our fellow brothers and sisters, our fellow humans. So yeah.
So I noticed that, you know, still in the big cities in New York City and places like that, they do have corner stores. They do have, there's more of that, a mom and pop type business. In suburbia or in other areas, sprawling cities, it is very much what you say, with parking lots and so forth. But in small towns in Europe and Italy and Spain and Portugal, where we've been, the mom and pop is still very alive. You can go to the butcher, you can go to the pharmacy, you can go to the fish store, you can go, you go to the fruiteria where you buy fruits and vegetables that are fresh. So it's very small. Even in the 2-3 days that we've been here, we're already friends with Enos, our local market guy, that we've gone by a few times, and trying to learn the language and talking to people. It is very neighborhood, very different than, and not to say that in the States it's not like that in some places, because I do know local places, but the corporate America is taking over in so much. And then of course online is very big, and we did that too in the US. I mean, we just ordered most of our stuff online. It was easy. So it is the very much community that we need.
Thank you. Wonderful insight. And yeah, I said that before. I said that on our dollars it says, "In God we trust," and I really believe that the money god is the god that has predominant in America, and it is based on corporate greed. But because here, for example, where I'm in Sicily, there's a supermarket that is very convenient. You go to for a few things like toilet paper and stuff, and there's gas stations, and that's all the corporations, the restaurants, all the little stores, like the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the pharmacist. Everyone is someone's family. So of course, oh, that's their family. They have had that pharmacy for years, and like Angela, that was her father's a doctor, and his mother runs a lab, and they wanted to keep that pharmacy and the family and this and that. So you feel good about giving money for something because it's back and forth, and there's a lot of exchanging that goes on because everyone like grows their own olives. It's olive time pressing, and so you change a loaf of bread for a bottle of olive oil. There's and yes, the government tries to get their hands in everything, but a lot of people exchange stuff or it's cash, still here, and that the government hates that because they don't have their hand in it. So I found that most people believe, less government. It's not like they're all passionate about, let's go vote for this. The government in Italy has fallen so many times. Everyone just thinks it's a joke. Yes, some people get passionate about it, but the government, I mean, it used to be Rome. Rome is still Rome, but it's Rome. And now they have who I don't even know who the prime minister is now, but it was Rome. It's been thousands of years like this, and people just, oh, who's in charge now? Especially Sicily. It's like they give to Caesar's what is Caesar's, and then get on with your life. And I think Americans, they used to say Americans are very ingenuine, kind of like naive about that because we like believe in our government, Uncle Sam and all that. And guys, government is not your uncle. It's not your friend. It's not going to take care of you at all. Okay. And there is even though, we think America's so wealthy, I tell you, there's a lot more money that goes around to people like during COVID and stuff, or pensions, or taking care of people, or healthcare in Italy, America, this wealthy place where all our taxes go to the one world order military, which I already said causes a lot of karma for us. So that's America. But any so but the point is, as Kevin said, is that's the 3D Earth. It's all crumbling, it's all decaying, and it's on the old timeline that's actually gone into fall, and it's destroying itself, it's eating itself, it's consuming itself. The energy is no longer there. So as the more you can take your quantum onto the new timeline, we'll say, I call it the Crystalla spiral, which is realigning with infinite source, the true organic timelines. Those are reconnecting back to our future. We had a future like this. We are all divine angelic beings who live this way. And I was saying earlier that any government, we didn't have government, we had councils of women, and they were the guardians, the wise women. And you see this in the indigenous culture, and their first concern was the energetic well-being, mostly of Mother Earth, because they were the guardians of it, and then all creation, and of course the community. Their job was to make sure everyone was taken care of. And I compare it to like the mama over here who makes a bowl of pasta, and she's not here like, I don't know, how much are you going to pay for the pasta? I mean, she makes sure all the family has a nice big bowl of pasta, and that's the divine feminine, the eternal mother that is returning now. So that's why we want to, the more you can extrapolate and extract yourself from these fallen systems, become self-sufficient, get your own little area, create a very high frequency around it. So you are, and I already talked about the frequency wars and the geoengineering, because there are people that kept their homes intact, even though in the North Carolina area, we had Amasol in here because she had held such a high frequency. So that's where you want to start maneuvering yourself to. I mean, that's my advice. Any feelings about that? Thoughts about that?
Well, I think that the biggest things I notice this in the States as well more, not to say it isn't in Italy. But the media is a big distraction. We don't watch TV. We don't pay attention to what's going on because it's just a lot of things are built in to distract. And it's politics or it's anything like that. A lot of it's the media. A lot of it is just I know today is the day after the election. I know there's going to be a lot of people upset about whatever their candidate didn't win. Or there's going to be a lot of that. And why? Why? Because, and I say this a lot to people, you can get on CNN and watch CNN all day and feel very unsafe because they're showing you everything in the world that is it's fear oriented and it's very dense energy. When you could be sitting in your house and everything's fine, and your neighbors are fine, there's no war around you. So create, like Kevin said, we create our own reality, and certainly the war is in the mind, particularly. So we can be battling in our mind, we can be battling with our emotions, we can be battling with our neighbor. So to set yourself at a higher frequency is to remember who you are, is to remember why you're here, and to bring that beautiful light energy into every situation with people you meet, and for yourself, taking care of yourself. So where are you focusing? That's my biggest question. What are you focusing on and where? And the more, and I've noticed this, the more that I'm focusing on the higher frequency, the friends that I used to have, or I have still friends, but they're sort of distancing themselves because they're very absorbed in, say, the politics and a lot of fear. And I notice they're sort of taking a step back from me, and that's okay because I'm just not there anymore. And so it is a decision. It really is a choice.
Thank you. I'm good.
Well, that's good because I want to talk to that because, in The Infinite Human, the book that this talk show is based on, I documented, and I talked about this before, the MK Ultra mind control was developed or perfected in America when they brought in the paperclip Nazis. And it was tested how frequency, they tested on, he's ex-military, so they tested on a lot of the traumatized Vietnam, the vets, who survived, and they got into their brain and they learned how to, either create dissidence or how to create fear. And then once they learned how to do that, which frequencies touched which parts of the brain, which they had mind mapped, all the Nazis did it experimenting on the Jewish people, then they put it into LA. They went over to LA and they started learning how to put it through the through the television, through the tele vision, and transmit these frequencies. So what they're doing, of course, is controlling you with these frequencies, and of course also with your cellular phones and things like that. And because why? Because what happens if we all united? What if we remembered who we were and that we were all infinite, all that is, ever has been, and ever shall be? What if we knew that we were one? We felt that oneness with all creation, then we would be unstoppable. So everything they do, and I say they, the parasites, we just call them in general, the fallen angelics, they do is orchestrated to keep you dividing, to fighting among yourselves, to paying your attention outside of yourself and not taking care, cleaning house and taking control of your own life and creating the life you want to live in the world you want to live in. So
we used to have a saying. I was a preschool teacher years ago, and when kids would start fighting or getting into a bad energy, we call it divide and conquer. We'd separate them and distract them into something else. Same thing, right?
time out. It's time out. You can't do that. So okay, and so now Can you tell me about how you feel? Because you've been kind of like soaking in the suns. Because I think your health right now, you said something when you first came over here, you were so unhealthy. And I talked to so many of you guys in the States, and you have so many health issues. And I understand because I'm preparing, I'm like purifying myself because I'm going to be back there for 2 weeks, and like I always say, I sit in infrared saunas like daily and sweat and maybe get injections of vitamins because the food doesn't have it. But how do you feel now after you've soaked in the Mediterranean Sea and in the hot springs? Do you want to say it?
Well, I think a lot of it's been just a lot of walking
Mhm.
and walking and the fresh air, especially out in the countryside. It's still a very good air inside the small towns, but it gets a little stagnant with the vehicles there. The water's been beautiful and clear. And so mostly it's fresh air, exercise, and lots of good water. And we're feeling much better. The food, I think, has been fabulous.
Yeah, where we are, we're out in the country, so much of it is just grown locally. What about you? Tell me more about your health.
Well, definitely the food is a huge thing, and I started suspecting that when, doing some research when I was in the States. And it what is so different is you can stop at a rest area on a highway here, and the food will be just as fresh as it is in a restaurant. It's not this, I don't know, packaged stuff. Sometimes you're, stuck having to get something that you don't want to just to sustain yourself. But there isn't very much of that. And so it just, I mean, look, it's all about money. If we can keep you sick, we can fund the pharmaceutical companies, we can fund the medical industry. So, you know, that's a big thing. And honestly, if the food got better in US, I probably would stay. But it's a long road.
Mhm. And for those of you that your job is to stay there, I tell it people all the time, and especially when I do soul mission readings, I always include, get some land and start growing it. If you build it, they'll come. I'm going to a place in Kentucky, and it's just a little house. These people created a lavender farm, and they buy all their fruits and vegetables for local farmers. In Kentucky, the soil's great, but if you can just like grow your own food, people will drive out there and you'll be, not only abundant with health and wonderful food, but you'll be very wealthy with money too, because it's a rare commodity to get really good healthy food. And in the US, even though it has a lot of the pollutions, it does have good soil. It's a lot of people regenerating it, and it's got a wonderful potential. So I see that is the new earth rising. Those areas are rising in frequency. So
Also, I want to say in the US, and we took advantage of this, there are more and more farmers markets. We had farmers markets almost every day in Tucson, where the climate isn't always great for growing, but we were always able to get fresh organic foods and meats at the farmers markets. I think the biggest problem is eating at restaurants. That's the hardest thing because you don't know where the food is sourced, and they're using a lot of seed oils and that type of thing. But the more that I'm talking to people that are light workers or health conscious in the US, they're starting to see how their health is declining as well. And it doesn't necessarily mean major health. It was just how I felt. And a lot more energy now. I felt tired a lot. So yeah, it is a lot, the food. I can't say what else it could be. Maybe the water, but I don't know. Yeah.
Well, thank you for saying that, because I've been saying that forever. When I went on my tour last year, I went to all these spiritual expos. And wonderful people, crystals, all kinds of, shield and heal devices, I mean, and readings, and they were discussing this and that. But I was like, where I need to eat. I've been, working and talking. I need something to eat. Oh, well, there's no food around, I mean, Americans don't even think of food. Here, the first thing that they're doing is they're creating their new earth. Is everyone's starting to grow in herbs and their own food, and this is a food culture. Italy is a food culture, and they are so particular about their food. And if if you're not feeding your body the right food, you're not going anywhere. You're just, it's just blah 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 about this metaphysical thing and the latest conspiracy and blah blah. And if you're talking about how bad the food is, do something about it. Grow it, or if you're in the States, or if not, go somewhere where you can be part of it. And your money, if you want to vote with your money. That's energy. Start supporting these. If you can't grow it yourself, well, I don't have time or whatever, because you can always do some sprouting and some seedlings and stuff. But go find out who your local farmers are. Get involved with them. Help them. Support them. Buy things from mom and pop's places, because there's been an agenda to destroy farming. They've done it by washing out farmers with their geoengineering. They've done it by paying them not to grow things and then removing the money, bankrupting them. It's a tough road that America's had, and that they've run mom and pop's places out with all the taxes and the regulations, and in restaurants, I mean, like I said, we had a restaurant for a few weeks and then we didn't do it because, there were so many rules about what you had to have, and, the health standards. But really, I think there are these small restaurants, even here, are much healthier than the big corporate restaurants. When you're eating corporate food, you're just eating salt and sugar, and you're not getting any kind of nutrition unless it's like a health food place. So nice I'm so glad to have you guys here.
Yeah.
And just I say this, but and it's not like I'm down on America, but gosh, being healthy is the first and foremost thing.
Our thoughts are things, and that's the most important thing. So, with that in mind, there is energy here on the earth. There's a blue crystalline plasmic energy that is used in most other planets and most other extraterrestrial cultures. I would say all of them. They use it for building, they use it for power, for energy. It's available in the earth. It was used in ancient cultures, Atlantis and so forth. And it has not been used. It may have been discovered, but it should be coming to light soon enough. But this is an energy, and anyone can access it. And you can visualize it, you can feel it, you can bring in the energy, you can clear yourself, you can clear your body, you can clear your food. So let's say you're somewhere and all you can get is a package of peanut butter crackers from the vending machine, which is probably not great for you. Transmute it. Use your thoughts, use your mind. Get yourself into a place where you are creating that new earth within yourself. That's where it starts. And the and energy is things. I mean, once you're feeling that energy, and we've been in places where it's crowded and all of a sudden everybody disappears. Or we've been in places where there's nobody and all of a sudden people are magnetized. And we're aware of it because of the energy that we're creating. So I think this is the most important thing. Food, yes, we're talking about the 3D. We're talking about things that we need to sustain in a human physical body. But our thoughts, if we're constantly negative about our food, if you can't get anywhere, you can't leave, you have to eat certain foods that you don't want to, make it a positive experience. Transmute that energy. Make it healing as you're eating it or whatever you're experiencing. So I think thoughts are, our consciousness is the only thing they can't take from us. They cannot take our consciousness. We can give it pretty easily, but they can't take it. So cherish that. Don't give it. Yeah.
So don't give it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well said. And just to wrap this up. And again, I mean, in the higher dimensions, we're breatharians, but the feeding is such a symbol of what are you giving into yourself. And we're all energy, that's the first thing. And we're all frequency. So, and we already had Professor Spiro on here for the mucusless diet. So you can make the changes inside yourself wherever you are. But, that's the first step, because you're making choices, of high frequency or low frequency. Every day you're making choices. And in the plasma, it's all about, we're going to internal creation, because the external creation has been so co-opted. So now the plasma frequencies are bathing us. The activations are coming through the sun, through the Nomi seed in the center of the earth. And our plasma bodies are now coming online, this beautiful plasma frequency, which we can pour into everything around us. So it's the high frequency. It's the highest frequency. And that actually shifts your DNA. It shifts all of external creation, because it is made up of prime creative energy. So it's the primal creation. So, wow, wonderful discussion.
Yeah, I love it.
Thank you guys so much for coming on. And we'll say ciao for now. And please tune in next week. We'll have another exciting show. And come see me in the US. Ciao.